to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we have the roll call, please?
Director Bill De La Pena absent. Vice Chair Huffer.
Here.
Chair Jones.
Here.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
Chair Skay.
Here. And I don't see any public comment cards. No? All right. Then we'll go on to presentations and announcements. Gary, would you introduce our new COSCA administrator?
I would.
Need our mic?
Just 1 second here. My apologies.
And I might jump in while Gary's pulling up his information, just to let you know that there was a memo distributed in the supplemental packet, and we're asking that item 6D be postponed till the next time we can get together. Councilmember Bill De La Pena is not able to be here this evening, and she wanted to participate in that item. So just let you know we'd be pulling that.
So thank you. I am very pleased to announce that Brian Stark is joining us as the new COSCA administrator. Some of you may have known of Brian prior to his arrival because he was very active in the local community and with our affiliate agencies. Brian started in June of 2019. He had a 25-year career before joining us in land conservation with 2 accredited land trusts. His professional career began at the Land Conservancy of San Luis Obispo County in 1994 after he received a bachelor's degree in social science from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and a master's degree in geography from Chico State. In 16 years with the Land Trust in San Luis Obispo, he served many roles, including development of the organization's GIS program, authorizing regional conservation plans, acquiring lands for conservation and local trail routes, and securing funding and managing 35 habitat restoration projects on local streams. In 2004, he was named the organization's executive director, where he managed a talented staff and raised many funds for local conservation. In 2009, Brian moved to Thousand Oaks following his wedding to a local girl, and he accepted the position of Conservation Operations Director at the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy. That was in 2010. For 4 years, Brian ran the day-to-day operations of the Land Trust and oversaw management of public open space and multiple habitat restoration projects, along with managing the organization's finances. In 2014, Brian was named executive director of the organization, where he built a strong staff team and helped, again, raise funds to expand land stewardship activities. Brian traces his interest in conservation to spending his summers on a family cattle ranch in Nebraska, hiking the sandstone hills, fishing the ranch streams, riding horses, and following university paleontologists excavating dinosaur fossils. They left him with a love of the land and an understanding of the greater importance of human relationships with the land. At COSCA, Brian is working diligently to ensure that future generations here in the valley and our nearby areas have a chance to experience the wonder of our open spaces while ensuring that wildlife and their habitats are always protected. I have to tell you, we are thrilled to have Brian with us at the city, and we think he's already off to a great start. And we're just really pleased to have him with us.
Thank you very much. And Brian, yes, I think on behalf of all of us, welcome aboard officially. We are indeed delighted that you're here. And in fact, Brian also served on the Canal Open Space Foundation before applying for the COSCA administrator position. So he's well versed in all that we do. Very good.
Speech.
Yes, do you have, would you like to say a few words, Brian?
Well, thank you very much. I can't tell you how exciting this is to work on the open spaces I spend every weekend enjoying. Thousand Oaks has something very special here, and serving the legacy of those that did all the work before me is important to me, and taking us all into the future and continue our good work.
Thank you so much. We'll go on to the consent calendar. We have 2 sets of minutes, one for our regular meeting last May 8th and one for special meeting on August 23rd. Do I have a motion for the May 8th minutes?
I'll move approval of the May 8th minutes.
Any seconds?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And for August 23rd,
Move approval of the August 23rd minutes.
And also second that as well.
all right, no objections. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No nays or abstentions. Thank you. Item 6A is an amendment to the COSCA Conflict of Interest Code. Mr. Stark.
Well, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. The Political Reform Act requires every local government agency to review its conflict of interest code biannually. The Conflict of Interest Code tells public officials, government employees, and consultants what financial interests they must disclose on their statement of economic interests. COSCA's Conflict of Interest Code was last updated in 2016 and last approved in 2018. While an update is not required until August of 2020, several COSCA staff classifications have changed just recently in the past year. Staff believes it's appropriate to update the code now in the interest of accuracy and transparency. The resolution to effect this change is before you, and I'm available for any questions.
Yeah, I have a
Yes,
question.
Director Jones.
Does this title change mean your duties are changing?
My personal duties have not changed. What happened is before I was hired as COSCA administrator, there was a COSCA manager that had a different employment classification at the city. So when that changed, the disclosure likely changed at that point too. So it's just trying to catch up with that. And as well, we had before a classification for a COSCA or a community development department planner, but that position has been upgraded to an analyst position. So this is just catching us up to the changes that have been made at COSCA so we can fulfill those duties.
And your duties are the same as they would have been if you'd had the older title, is that it?
Maybe Gary could answer that better than me.
Yeah, I could. Thank you. The duties and responsibilities of the position were slightly enhanced. There was a desire to move to a title that was really what we thought more commensurate with the work. The city and CRPD joined together and took a hard look at the program as a whole while there was a vacancy, and determined that having the COSCA administrator title was a bit more, again, commensurate with the work that was going to be done, and actually the presence that we were hoping that would have in the community. It's a higher classification, if you will.
But would you have done any different work if you'd have still had your older classification? I mean, would your job description still be the same? I don't mean to be a stickler. I just wonder if anything really changed other than the title. Well, let me ask.
Yeah.
I was trying to ask Brian.
Well, the position was changed before I was hired to fill it, so I didn't have a different scope of work before.
So you don't know what it was previously then?
Not intimately.
Okay. I'm sure you'll do a great job, whatever we call you. Okay.
Any other questions of staff? Director
Yes, Madam
Nichols.
Chair, I had a question. Mr. Stark, there's also the addressing of the change to the COSCA analyst.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a position, title, classification across community development, and this just happens to be assigned to COSCA, or is this a unique classification?
This is a classification that is a departmental classification. In our case, our COSCA analyst, Anna, is assigned to COSCA.
Okay, so it's just an assignment, so to speak, as opposed to a separate, unique classification.
I would concur.
Okay, all right, just trying to get it straight with me. Thank you.
Okay. Well, do we have a motion to read the ordinance in title only, further reading be waived?
Also move.
Any second? And a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes or abstentions? Thank you. No, that we waived the further reading. Let's go on to amendment to the Costco ordinance, and that would be Felicia.
Good evening, Chair Skay and members of the COSCA Board. Tonight, we are presenting to you amendments to Chapter 2, Section 214 of the COSCA Open Space Rules and Regulations pertaining to camping. The last comprehensive amendment to the COSCA Open Space Rules and Regulations section before you tonight occurred on May 13th, 2009. At that time, COSCA prohibited the act of camping on all COSCA property. However, the act of sleeping was never addressed. Further, in the situation where personal property was left abandoned or stored within COSCA open space, COSCA rangers or other enforcement personnel are currently required to follow a 7-day notice requirement before being able to remove that property. On September 4th, 2018, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals issued a decision in the case of Martin versus City of Boise, which changed how governmental entities can address sleeping and camping on public property. This case involved multiple homeless individuals who had been cited for camping on public property or sleeping in public buildings or places in violation of the city's ordinance. The court concluded it is a violation of the Eighth Amendment, which protects against cruel and unusual punishment, to criminalize the act of sleeping outside where no sleeping space is practically available. However, the Boise decision does not stand for a total ban on a city's or governmental entity's right to regulate the behavior should there be compelling reasons for the regulations, nor does it require cities to allow sleeping at any time and in every publicly owned location. On May 21st, 2019, the City of Thousand Oaks introduced a municipal code amendment that addressed the issues raised in the Boise case. The amendments, which went into effect on July 12th, 2019, allows for sleeping on public property between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. where there is no reasonable alternative available. And because the Boise decision did not require cities to allow sleeping at any time and at any place, the city prohibited the act of sleeping as well as the act of camping in the open space at all times. Open space is specifically excluded as an area where sleeping and camping is allowed due to a variety of factors, including but not limited to the ecological sensitivity of the area, the increased fire danger associated with undeveloped land, and to protect the safety of all users of the open space. The proposed amendments include the act of sleeping as a prohibited act on all COSCA open space, along with camping. Camping will remain prohibited activity in the open space, and further, the notice requirement to remove stored or abandoned property within the open space has been shortened from 7 days to 72 hours, consistent with how the city and Caltrans address similar issues and to be more efficient. These changes will serve to strengthen COSCA's ability to regulate the use of its property as it relates to camping and now sleeping, and continues to protect this resource going forward. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Questions, yes, Director Huffer.
Yes.
A couple of questions. First of all, I understand the necessity for changing the rules to be consistent with what the city says, and more importantly, be consistent with what the courts are telling us. But in reality, I'm hoping that our rangers are not going to go out and if they find a hiker who's taking a nap out on the trails, he's not going to arrest him for sleeping because he's hiking and he's tired in the middle of the day and sleeping.
Well, our rangers are not the ones who are addressing issues of sleeping in the open space. My understanding is they refer that to the Thousand Oaks Police Department, and we do have vulnerable population officers who are specifically assigned to homelessness issues, and they do try to work with individuals to help them into social services and help them out of their status of homelessness. So we as a COSCA, and as the entity in COSCA, we want to make sure that sleeping is not an allowed activity within the open space for a variety of reasons. And the code as it's currently written does not distinguish the acts of camping and sleeping like the Boise case had done. So that's why we're doing this now.
Okay, well, I understand that, but just
clarification.
my comment then is, I'm hoping that the rangers don't call the sheriffs because a hiker has decided to take a nap in the middle of the day. Just a comment. A question about 214A, where you added the term sleeping, but it
Yes.
says it's unlawful for any person to camp on COSCA open space. And then further in 214, in 214J, and this may be a question to the CRPD general manager, says this section is not intended to apply to open space lands owned by the Canal Recreation and Park District. My specific concern is Wildwood Park, is that owned by CRPD?
So in fact, the location that we call Campsite 4, which is in the canyon, not out on the top of the mesa. The mesa is COSCA owned. The canyon is actually Canal Rec and Park District owned. And so we actually did work with the city attorney's office and look at how we currently conduct programming. We do have just a handful of times when there is overnight camping on CRPD open space, primarily a family campout,
Right.
and the Safe Passage overnight program. And in every instance we do allow it, it is with, it is part of a CRPD program. So we are actually there with the people staying, and it's a staffed, paid for, registered program. So that's what's happening on the Kostka property. And then just incidentally, we do have a couple community parks where we do a family camp out as well, but that's really not addressed by this. That's our own.
Okay, well, my specific concern was the Wildwood Family Camp Out and the Safe Passage Camp Out, so, okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions of staff? Yes, Director
I
Jones.
would just say parenthetically that we did make other property available. For instance, one could sleep on the lawn here at City Hall.
That's technically correct under the Boise decision.
Okay, yes, Director Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a clarification for the changes in 214A, was it just the word sleep that was added? Otherwise, it's all the same?
Correct.
And under D1 is 72 hours, just replacing 7 days. Otherwise, everything else is the same?
That is correct. These
Okay.
changes are just to make this more consistent with the Boise decision, with what the city of Thousand Oaks is doing, and also to give our rangers the opportunity to clear out open space in a more expeditious fashion than they've been able to do before, reducing it from 7 days to 72 hours.
Okay. And for a definition on section 214B refers to house trailers. I've not heard that term before. Is there a legal definition to what constitutes a house trailer?
You know, I would have to look at the COSCA ordinance as a whole to see if it has been defined elsewhere, which I don't have in front of me, and I can get back to you on that. But I
Okay.
don't know what that definition means. I don't want to guess at that. So it's possible we have it defined elsewhere.
Okay, yeah, I'd be curious, because like I said, I've just never heard that term. I've heard of camping trailers, and of course, there's campers and motorhomes listed here as well, but never house trailers. And I didn't know if there's something unique about that we needed to specifically list it that way.
I don't know. I'll
So,
get back to you on the
Little
definition.
homework next time around would be great. That was it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. No other questions of staff? Would someone like to make a motion on the recommendation? Director Heffer.
I'd like to move approval of staff recommendation to read the ordinance in title only for the reading to be waived.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Director Jones. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any objections or abstentions? None, thank you. We'll go on to C. Anna, this is an authorization to accept 4.46 acre parcel in the Mount Cliff Ridge Open Space. It's 1,000 feet north of Campus Drive, Briar Bluff Circle, and an additional 1.96 acre parcel in Canal Ridge Open Space, which is northwest of Willow Lane and Ventura Freeway. These are to be accepted from the City of Thousand Oaks.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. I have a brief PowerPoint. In 2002, the Thousand Oaks City Council approved the purchase of a 4.46 acre parcel in the Mount Clef open space area and a 1.96 acre parcel in the Canal Ridge open space. The funding source was Capital Improvement Project 1227 from the fiscal year 2001 through 2003 budget. CIP 1227 is designated for open space acquisition citywide. As the 2002 action didn't happen to include a request to transfer the parcels to COSCA once the purchase was completed, staff is requesting authorization to transfer these parcels to COSCA at this time. And this slide shows the vicinity in which the 4.46 acre parcel is located. And this next slide shows that parcel a little more specifically. And this slide shows the location of the 1.96 acre parcel, and here's a detail of that particular parcel. Transfer of these two parcels to COSCA will facilitate reconciliation of open space ownership with purchase funding sources, as well as long-term stewardship. These acquisitions are also two examples of staff's ongoing efforts to complete the ring of open space around our community. And with that, staff recommends that the Board of Directors authorize the Board Secretary to execute the necessary documents to accept the transfer. And thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Ms. Huber? Yes, Director Heffer.
So this is basically just cleaning up an oversight where the property was there, but it's never got legally transferred to COSCA.
Yes, sir.
So there's no cost to anybody or anything like that.
Correct.
And hopefully staff is going through all of the other transactions over the last 10 or 20 years to make sure there are no other transactions like that out there.
Yes, that's actually something that the city's finance department is working on, and I think Mr. Stark may have some additional information about that.
Thank you.
Well, in fact, there are other situations where this wasn't done at the time. So we're working on a global review of the land transactions to wrap up into a larger package. So you'll see more of these in groups, in the coming meetings.
So when we say that we have 15,000 plus or minus acres of open space, that's COSCA ownership, CRPD ownership, and city ownership at this point, is that correct?
Yes, that's a cumulative number.
Okay. All right, Director Nichols.
In looking at these specific locations, I wasn't aware of any active open space uses, for example, trails across these. Is there anything planned for these areas, or is it just a matter of capturing the open space and making sure that we have a nice package in these areas?
It's just a matter of capturing that open space.
Okay, all right, thank you. That
Part
was
of
it.
our ring.
Yes,
Okay,
filling in the ring.
all right. If no other questions, do we have a motion to accept?
I'll be happy to make that motion to accept authorization to accept the 4.46 acre parcel and the 1.96 acre parcel from the city of Thousand Oaks.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and Director Heffer seconds, thank you. If no other comments, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No objections or abstentions, thank you. As Mr. Friedel indicated, we're postponing item D. I do have a speaker card. Well, if we can take that out of order. Mr. Lake, did you wish to make comments?
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, but
That's
I
fine.
want to make a comment and then maybe get back to school night. Regarding the Wildwood parking lot that was on the agenda at the last meeting, but somebody brought a bunch of friends of Kostka who claim to support this parking lot in its current configuration and intimated that they lived near the parking lot and were affected by it. And in fact, they are not. They don't live near the parking lot. As you well know, there are good places to put a busy parking lot for Wildwood Park at the Hill Canyon entrance and at the end of Rancho Conejo. The space and infrastructure is already there, and it's much better than the setup at the end of Arbalest, which draws thousands of car trips into our quiet residential neighborhood every week. You know that these places are not near residential neighborhoods, but in places where vendors would welcome vehicle traffic. And you know, because I've written you letters, that I'm awakened every day at 6 a.m. This morning it was 3:30 a.m. and I called the cops, by loud park users who don't seem to care that they're in a residential area. And you know that the dust from this poorly placed parking lot makes us sick, and you know that impaired drivers endanger our children when they drive up our street. And you know that this unplanned parking lot at the end of Arbalest is really degrading our neighborhood. And when I finally got this issue onto your agenda, whoever brought these people to speak on behalf of keeping this parking lot in its current location, if this person is employed by a public agency, this person needs to be fired. That was ridiculous. It defeats the purpose of a public process and public comment process. It's simply absurd. The people that intimated that they lived near the parking lot do not. I know most of them because I've been hiking and dealing with Kostka for a long time. And you also know that if even 10% of this crowd that sets off their car alarms and greets each other by shouting the F word across a parking lot were to show up at the trailheads near where you live in Westlake Village or other neighborhoods, they would be escorted out of town by the police. And you also know that one of these people started a fire at Hill Canyon last November. I don't think you've caught him, or I don't think this person has been found. But there were no structures lost, no homes lost, because that was in a remote location. And I think you know that if one of these yahoos starts a fire at the Wildwood side of the canyon, there could be significant property damage. And I think that since you choose not to situate this mob scene in these remote areas, but choose to situate it 80 feet from where my children are trying to sleep, I think you should know that you will be held accountable for the effects of this action. And I'd like to submit my comments and have them attached to the speaker card
Give
and
them to
public
the-
record.
To the
Thank you.
secretary. Thank you, Mr. Lake. Let's go on to COSCA volunteer core activities. Thanks. Anna?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I have a brief PowerPoint, and that is that I would just like to provide an update on this item, which is on page 48 of your packets, as the numbers shown in your packets. Inadvertently, were only for 1 month, so actually what's happened since I last shared volunteer hours with you, from May through August of this year, we actually had 170 reports submitted and 307 hours donated for the Trail Watch program, and 124 reports submitted and 380 hours donated for the Adopted Trail program. So thank you, as usual, to our many volunteers. Apologies for the error, and I'm available for questions.
Any questions about the core activity? Director Nichols.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Are these reports that are generated from the volunteers or
Yes.
to the volunteers?
From the volunteers.
Okay, is there also a reporting process that the general public can submit as well?
They usually, if there's an issue, the on-call ranger phone number is on our website, and we also hear about problems as well.
And do we track those as well, or you track those as well, or somebody?
If they go to the rangers track those.
Okay. So there is just a tracking system, and there's also a resolution, how things are resolved if it's possible, or is there some way to get back to those folks that they know that it's been tended to or will be, or something to that effect?
In many cases, the reporting parties are not asking for follow-up. In those events where that request is made, then we do close that loop.
Okay. And these reports here, is this some type of correction activity or just a status update on the trail looks fine and?
It's just a status update.
Okay. And if there is something, they'll include that in the report.
Absolutely.
Very
And then
good.
it's,
Okay.
and then it's attended to.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions on this? All right, thank you, Anna. Let's go to the Open Space Challenge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And on this particular item, staff had provided this in your packet just to let the board know that this year's Open Space Challenge was another success. We had approximately 160 people participating, and 125 folks actually completed all 10 trails that were highlighted this year. We had a post-event picnic and prize raffle that was very well attended, and we're looking forward to another successful event next year.
It's great that it's so popular. Yes, Director Heffer.
So when do you announce the 10 trails for this coming year?
That's
Had to start scouting them out, you know. So.
that's what you're waiting for. Yeah, that's going to be in the early part of next year.
Yes, Director Nichols.
Unlike Director Huffer, I was not able to complete all 10 trails. My wife and I had a great start, but we only completed 7 out of the 10. But it was a lot of fun and too many other obligations to finish up the rest. But I was able to attend the little activity over there, over at the park and the pavilion. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of camaraderie. I was very impressed with the number of people who were part of some type of a hiking group. And this was like a challenge that they did as a group. And especially when it came to awards, it's, oh, they're not here. I know that. I'm going to take that to them. So I saw that many, many times. So I was really impressed with that as to how people took this to heart. And it was just part of their common routines that they were already hiking, but this gave them like a goal to shoot for. And as well as there were a number of folks that really had not been out hiking. And it was like, okay, now is the time. So kudos to the team that puts this together. I know it's cooperation with the foundation and others as well. But it's a great effort, and gosh, this spring was just a great time to get out and see all the flowers. So it was a good effort. So please extend my thanks again to all those who participate, as well as making it happen. And next time I have to keep up with this guy, see if I can make it to all 10.
Need to retire first.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, a very cool thing that goes on. Ranger Matt Kuba is not here, but Anna, will you take on his report?
Yes, Madam Chair, thanks. And I have a brief PowerPoint, and I'll do my best to follow in Matt's illustrious footsteps, because he's always gives us something, a great way to end our meeting. So first, we have a helicopter rescue in the Canal Canyons open space area. One of our regular mountain bikers took a tumble and broke his ankle. Due to the remoteness of the incident, a helicopter was required. Ranger Bruce heard the dispatch on the radio and was able to quickly get to the location by bicycle, and he assisted the Ventura County Fire Department in the rescue. Next up, we have a Bobcat on the Indian Creek Trail. Sadly, the Rangers received a report that a Bobcat was acting strangely on this particular trail. The Rangers closed the trail, other staff diverted day camps, and the Rangers contacted National Park and Animal Control. The Bobcat had mange from exposure to anticoagulants and was treated by NPS service rangers who monitored the cat through the night. Unfortunately, the Bobcat did not survive, and it's actually due to issues such as this that COSCA and CRPD have not used rodenticides for over 15 years. And in 2015, the city passed a resolution urging businesses to refrain from selling and using rodenticides, as well as residents to refrain from using anticoagulant rodenticides. On a happier note, our pedestrian bridge across Canal Creek and Hill Canyon repairs have begun. They began this past Monday because our contractor finally received the wood for the replacement decking. This is exotic wood from Brazil, and it's prized for its durability, so it takes some time to actually arrive. The work and related inspections should take about 1 to 2 weeks. They made very good progress already on this first day, and here's another photo of that work. moving along, we had a valley oak at the base of Tarantula Hill. That's it right there. It's located on the first turn on that access road as you climb the hill. It developed a really large crack in the middle of its trunk. And due to its proximity to the access road and the popularity of that access road as a walking route, we felt it was necessary to take the tree down. Its limbs and branches there are on the photo in the right, and they'll be left on site to serve as habitat for small mammals and reptiles. Then we have a culvert story from Lang Ranch that you might remember from last May. This was a project that the rangers spent a lot of time on in installing this little culvert in a trail that crossed a small stream channel. And there it is when it's completed. And unfortunately, it was recently covered due to some road grading work. And it took a little bit of investigation and some emails and a nice walkthrough to get it repaired, which it will be soon. But as a result of all this, we now have a much better working relationship with the Wildland Fire Division at the Ventura County Fire Department.
I'd like to avoid recreational bulldozing.
Exactly. And then now that fuel modification or weed abatement work is generally complete, the rangers have had a chance to move on to some regular maintenance projects that include sign replacement and new installations, as well as a variety of other trail repairs. And rather than ending with a sunset this time, which is typically our tradition, we thought we'd share this rainbow from last Thursday morning. You saw that? Okay. All right. And thank you. And I'm available for questions if anybody has any.
Excellent report. Director Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Was there any metal work required on the bridge, or was it just the wood surface?
Yes, there is metal work required, and thank you for that question. You probably saw the steel staged on the bridge as well. And as a result of the hill fire, which ran underneath the bridge, some of the steel was compromised. Structural examination and metal testing did occur. It was discovered that a little bit of weakening had occurred because of the heat from the fire. It is our interest that the original vehicle weight rating of that bridge be maintained, and so hence there's additional welding that will happen with additional reinforcing steel to make sure that we maintain that weight. Okay.
I'm just thrilled to see that we didn't have to replace it, and the repairs will take care of what we need to make that a functional bridge.
Right.
And also, I did notice the oak tree in Tarantula Hill. I happened to be there Saturday night hiking, and the reason I noticed is because I was there the previous Tuesday, and the oak tree was still standing, and then a Saturday it was not. So appreciate that. I was curious as to what caused this demise. And I've also wanted to report that after 35 years of infrequent hiking on Tarantula Hill, I finally found my first tarantula on the top of Tarantula Hill.
August is a good time
Hopefully
to hike.
observation only.
Oh, yes, observation only. So that was a...
Send it over to the brewery.
Yeah, there you go.
Can check that off my bucket list.
Very good.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Director Jones.
are we pursuing another bridge now over toward the Newbury Park area? Isn't that on our long-range plan, or
At the end of Rancho Canal Boulevard, is that?
so that people can get into the Wildwood Park from Rancho Canal area? I thought that was somewhere on the on the plan for it to help alleviate the people that live at the trailhead there on Arvillus, that there would be another entrance from the Rancho Canal side. Is that wrong?
I can speak to that.
Please do.
Okay. A second bridge is in the works. The bridge will be installed in Hill Canyon and will connect the existing Hill Canyon Trail to allow pedestrians who start their hikes from our Hill Canyon trailhead to remain on the Hill Canyon Trail, which is parallel to the access road, cross the stream, cross the access road, and then transit into Wildwood from there. Presently, people and mountain bikers are traveling on the access road that goes to the treatment plant. That road wasn't designed for that activity, so the second bridge, which will be just downstream from the treatment plant, will facilitate improved access to the Wildwood area from that entry point.
Well, where will that bridge be in reference to the bridge that we just saw on the screen?
Slightly upstream, about 1.25 miles upstream.
And where would you park then to access that bridge, near the sewer treatment plant? Or?
No, you would park in our trailhead parking lot.
Or the county parking lot.
Or the county parking lot, thank you, which is very close to the bridge that we just saw the photos of.
Yeah. So you'd park in that lot for either bridge, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second bridge will come online in the earlier part of next year will just improve trail access throughout that area and allow open space visitors to stay on trail for their entire open space experience instead of needing to walk on wanting to walk on an asphalt access road.
Well, do you think the installation of that bridge, whenever that's accomplished, will reduce some of the usage of the parking lot at the end of Arbalest?
It seems reasonable that there would be potential for that.
And do we have any time frame for that bridge being?
The bridge design has been completed. It is currently going through the regulatory permitting process. We expect to receive a stream bed alteration agreement from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife mid-October. Once we receive that permit and agree with that agency to the conditions it contains, we will then be able to go to City Council to seek authorization to go out to bid for the construction. We can't go out to bid prior to seeing what that permit contains because it's important when we create our bid document to illustrate to potential bidders the parameters that they will need to conduct their work within.
Do we have funding arranged for that?
Yes, we do.
About what is the cost, if you happen to know offhand?
It's running around $1 million at this point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a little cheaper than getting a mountain line across the freeway in Agoura, so I like the price
Okay.
better.
Any other questions? If not, do our CRPD and city reps have any reports or anything to add? No? Okay, any board member comments? If not, our next regular, oh yes, Director Huffer, sorry.
I didn't get a chance before. Just wanted to welcome Brian on board. Your background is absolutely spectacular. I know you're going to be a great addition to Kostka. And if you are ever looking for someone to join you in looking for dinosaur bones, I have a good friend in Kiwanis who is an absolute nut about dinosaur bones. So
That would be something if we could find some in the Canal, but probably not. Not quite old enough. All right, if no other board member comments, we will adjourn to December 4th in this room. So thank you all very much.